Okay, for your final question tonight, safe and affordable rental housing is an issue for many families here on LaGrange. What solutions would you support as mayor? Mr. Smith will answer first, then Mr. Thornton, and then Mr. McCamey.
I thought about this question, so y'all sent it to us a week or so ago. When you rent a house, you're renting it from an individual, and I don't know that the city has a lot of power to tell individuals what to do, but I think the city could require a certain level of insulation in housing and for rental housing. And I have several houses that I rent out, and I don't rent out a house if it's not a house would not be willing to live in. So I think every landlord should be like that. If they're not, they should be shut down. If you go around LaGrange, you'll see, without me mentioning any names, initials are Mallory Realty. You can see they have a lot of houses that have been closed down because they just don't pass any kind of minimum standard. But we can use that same kind of a system to require some level of insulation so that these utility bills for people that have to pay a lot for rent don't have to pay the same amount for utilities. Thanks.
Providing safe and affordable housing, and quite frankly, providing multiple options for housing is very important to any community. That means rental housing as well as owner-occupied housing. It means single-family residential as well as multifamily residential, because different families find themselves with different needs at different times in their life. And I think that is certainly an appropriate goal for the city. In addressing safe and affordable housing, some of the things that I've already talked about I think would help in that regard. Economic development, if we continue to provide more jobs, higher wage jobs, a different variety of jobs, a different mix for our people, I think that will provide more affordability from the demand side, if you will, of the equation. And the community policing and the crime prevention will help with the safety in addition to the code enforcement, which I think LaGrange does a pretty good job of. The city does, every time a house requests utility transfer, whether it's rental or owner-occupied, if they request a change of transfer of utilities, the city will do an inspection to make sure that there is safety. But I would like to see the city provide some method for educating the public on the importance of weatherization, insulation, low E windows, etc., as well as the use of utilities. I think that's something that we could do to help lower the utility costs for our residents, which frees up more money for the housing component of their living. To improve the quality of the supply of housing and to lower the cost at the same time, I think it requires partnership. It requires partnership of the city with various housing agencies, the LaGrange Housing Authority, DASH, the State Department of Community Affairs, who has a housing program. So it requires the city to work with these various partners. That might include expanding our income-based rent options. It might include more Section 8 vouchers for our community, or providing more information about that to the public, those programs that are already available. And one thing that I also want to do is to be sure that the city is a partner with private developers. You know, probably the people who know the most about housing in LaGrange are realtors, because they're the ones out there showing the houses, working with the families, trying to find a fit for them in the community. And I want the city to work with the private developers so that we can know what the needs are in the community and then encourage, because like I say, the city might not be able to do this themselves, but through working in partnership with these developers, encourage them to provide what we need, such as what DASH has done with Laurel Ridge, with Tucker Cottages, and Mallard Lake, where they have provided low-income housing. It's a holistic approach to a real need in our community that I would provide. Thank you.
Guess we have the same cheat sheet, huh? As mayor, I will continue some of the developments that we see here in place. I think we all know Mr. Rick Wolf. He's done an outstanding job, particularly with the Dash project. He's also created Laurel Ridge as well as Tucker Cottages. I think those are blueprints for our city. Those are two areas I think we all can be proud of. And I will work in collaboration with Dash and his particular organization, Mr. Wolf, to ensure that we continue to move in that direction. I think 2 subdivisions have already been in place, and a 3rd one is being completed. I think we need to see more of those type developments in our city. As mayor, I will work in collaboration with landlords. We all talk about the dilapidated homes in our community. When I bring friends to town, many of them call me later and ask, what in the world is going on in your city? I've seen so many houses boarded up on my journey in and out of LaGrange. And for me, as a citizen, that is pretty much embarrassing. I think that we need to work with the landlords to enforce these codes. I know we mentioned over and over in these forums that we have codes in place, but we need to reinforce these codes to ensure that landlords are meeting the codes and standards for our city. Thank you.